We received this from Michael S. in Colorado.
In the depths of my despair, I couldn't see a way out. I could see no hope, but there was a way out. And even then, there was so much hope. I learned you don't have to see hope for there to be hope.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Don, an alcoholic in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Howdy, Don. Hey, everybody. I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
Hiya, Sam.
Don, what's going on, mister?
Not much. You?
Throw it right back at me. You know, one of the things that I'm absolutely loving, I picked up 3 sponsees when I joined this new home group, several months into going. Like within a month, 3 sponsees.
Wow, that's a lot, Sam.
And what is so cool is I had completely forgotten how much sponsees working with others and them reaching out for help and it's a help for me. Oh, what do you know? Sponsorship is part of our program of recovery.
How does it help to have a sponsee?
These guys will call at any given time, and I do my absolute best to take their call.
Yes.
And it's a fantastic interruption, and it brightens my day. It's one of those things that as an introvert, these guys pull me out of that for a moment. And
That's
it
right.
actually has a lingering effect of, a smile on my face and a desire to be helpful to people going forward.
Or what can happen, which has happened to me so many times, I'll be all wrapped up in some project and frustrated or person that I'm dealing with or something, and then having a conversation with a sponsee, I remember what I'm about, pulls me out of myself, and I may be giving them the exact advice that I need to be applying in my life right now. I'm not doing it because I'm not aware.
And then the other thing that happens, 6 or 8 months later, when I'm in the midst of some crisis or something, and one of the sponsees tells me something I told them, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's like, where'd you hear that?
That stings a little bit.
It does. And it's fabulous. I love it.
The bright spot of my day is Thursday, and I meet with my sponsee at 9 o'clock, my sponsor at 10:30, another sponsee at 1, and another sponsee at 4:30, and then I have a meeting at 7:30. It is a day that's like, I get so charged up.
It sounds like you're just doing all of AA in one day.
Yeah, I get it all done in one day, and I take the rest of the week off.
Take naps.
And the rest of the time, I just sleep on the porch.
Well, sponsorship both ways. It's fantastic. I
It
absolutely love working with my sponsor and talking with him. And I love working with those guys that I'm sponsoring.
I'm glad you
Fabulous.
took on that many sponsees. That's great, Sam.
But I'm at my limit right now.
Well, you do have, I mean, that's a practical issue.
Yeah.
I only have so many hours to read, and they're all on Thursday. Thursday only has so many hours in the day.
And it's perfectly that you're putting that on Thirst Day. But it's really not that funny.
You are driving me to the very wit's end. Sam, who's our guest today?
Don, today we'll be talking with Laura S. from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And later we'll see if we can interest her in some discussion based on hashtag misheard in a meeting posts.
What? You know that Heard in a Meeting was the first humor column in the Grapevine magazine in issue number 2.
Yeah, I've heard that once or twice from you now.
Yeah, I think I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Well, I think it's cool. There's such gems as From Greenwich Meeting. AA is like an umbrella. It won't work unless you put it up.
And there's one from a White Plains meeting. An alcoholic is a person who finds he has nothing in common with himself.
This is in 1944. The intergroup group, the 12 steps are a matter of long, slow work. One can't go from a heel to a halo in 12 easy lessons.
Heel to a halo. I love it.
Yeah.
This one from the Manhattan group. When I look at a new prospect, I say to myself, if you don't take a drink, feller,
Feller.
you'll be where I am. And if I do take a drink, I'll be where you are in no time flat.
That's the way it works.
There's some good stuff in there.
Later on, we'll be talking about misheard in a meeting, which you said are mondegreens.
Mondegreens.
And some listeners have sent in some good ones.
Yeah.
But first, the news.
Do you ever wonder what to do as a Grapevine representative? The Grapevine Workbook is available to download at aagrapevine.org. It's chock full of information that's useful to Grapevine reps and others in service. Go to aagrapevine.org and click on Rep Resources at the bottom of the page.
Sam, that's an incredible resource there at aagrapevine.org. But also at aa.org, there's a workbook for every service position.
You know, it's really cool to know that these resources are available for us because, you know, sometimes we get into a service position and we don't really know what to do. And maybe if it's a service position that's been unfilled for a while, there's not even anyone to ask who held it before us.
That's right.
So if you are a group's Grapevine rep, you can also reach out to your district Grapevine coordinator. You can reach out to the area Grapevine coordinator. You can call the AA Grapevine office and speak with someone there. You can also call the service desks at AA World Services at the General Service Office and talk with people there about what's going on. So there is so much help out there. But like any alcoholic, we have a hard time asking for it sometimes.
Ask for help.
That's it.
I'm Laura. I'm an alcoholic. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. My home group is Strange Mental Blank Spots. It meets on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. You guys are welcome anytime you're visiting us. And I currently serve as the alternate chair in Area 46 here in New Mexico.
Oh, fabulous. Do you actually do the work that you're supposed to as an alternate chair?
I absolutely do.
Awesome. That means you might be a good fit for the chair when that time comes, right?
Well, does your home group give the time and location of the meeting so that the people, if they're waking up out of a strange mental blank spot, they know where they are?
You know, I don't think that is in our script, but I could suggest it at the next group function.
That's a fabulous group name. I know it's from the literature,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
I'm curious, does this mean that your group also takes each other's inventories regularly, pointing out those spots that we don't really know about?
It has occurred. I will say that.
Nice,
I don't think
honest
there's
answer.
a place in AA that hasn't happened, right?
Yes.
Laura, what was going on with you when you got sober?
Oh man. Well, I got sober June 14th, 2001 at the age of 15. There was a whole lot going on in my world, in my head, and as any good teenager, it was very self-absorbed and very self-centered. My getting sober experience is a little bit unique because it wasn't exactly my choice. My parents intervened and helped kind of push me along into this by sending me to a boarding school for at-risk teens. I don't know how familiar y'all are with the troubled teen industry.
Not at all.
A little bit of a trap there. And I feel very lucky that I didn't have the same fate as a lot of folks that I got sober with. This was definitely not Alcoholics Anonymous.
Can you describe the difference in a general way between AA's approach and what you were experiencing?
When I came to AA, I think what I felt was support. We're here when you're ready. We'll love you until you can love yourself. You can take it or leave it. To me, Alcoholics Anonymous felt almost like a utopia.
Did you find AA through that treatment facility?
Yes. A lot of this treatment facility was based on elements of Alcoholics Anonymous, but they also offered once a week to get on a little bus and go to meetings outside of the facility. And so that's where I really felt like, oh, there's a big difference here.
Well, I'm glad you found what you needed in AA.
Yeah.
And I absolutely related. I'm a perfectly good alcoholic, which means that if you tell me what to do, you can pretty much rest assured I'm not going to.
I'm going to do the opposite.
And thankfully, I came into AA and no one was telling me what to do. They were saying, this is what we did. This is what we do.
Yeah, my sponsor told me one time, because I was complaining about something he was saying for me to do. He said, "Well, Don, you can go drink if you want to." I was like,
Yeah.
well, no, don't tell me that. I don't want to drink. I just want to complain.
Yeah, sometimes we do, right? Laura, so when you did find yourself in AA meetings, what did you do?
The first thing that I did when I graduated high school from this facility was go to an AA meeting. My mom had asked me if I wanted to have some kind of graduation party and reconnect with all of my old friends. And I was like, oh, Mama, I don't think that's a good idea at all. I'm going to try and plug in and go to an AA meeting. I left with a sponsor that night. At that time, I had 3 years of sobriety from being in this treatment facility for so long. And the sponsor that I connected with had less sober time than I did, but it was such a meaningful connection, and she had everything that I wanted. I didn't have a driver's license because I got sober right at the time that I was supposed to be learning how to drive. She would pick me up for meetings, take me to coffee afterward. I learned that there was an alternative to the life that I was living.
Was she older?
She probably was in her 30s, and I was 18 at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually helped connect me to like the special interest of Young People's AA.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I was very hesitant. I was like, it sounds like going back to high school. And I kind of like being the unique one in the meeting that everyone tells me, oh, you're so lucky. You have your whole life ahead of you. And in Young People's, I'm just another bozo on the bus. But that really opened up a lot of things for me and is actually how I got involved with general service.
Is there a moment in your early sobriety that just stands out?
I'd been going to these mainstream AA meetings all summer with my sponsor. The extent of my social life was going out to coffee after the meeting, and it'd be a Friday night, and I would be home in bed by 9:30 p.m.
That's just not right. That's not natural.
No. And I was thinking, oh my God, is this it for the rest of my life? The moment of clarity I had in that was like, if this is all I've got in order to stay sober one day at a time, that's acceptable to me. And when I reiterated that to my sponsor at the time, she was like, oh no, there's so much fun to be had in AA. Let's get you plugged in with some more people that you will identify with just because you're in the same place in life. And so I went to my first Young People in AA meeting, and I was definitely nervous about it. But I sat down and I was present, and it was a small enough group that they went around the room round robin for sharing. So everyone got a chance to share. And toward the end of the meeting, it came to me and I introduced myself as, I'm Laura, I'm an alcoholic and I have no friends.
Ooh.
And I still remember this guy that I'm still friends with to this day, looking across the table at me, interrupting my share and saying, we're your friends. What are you talking about? And spending the rest of the summer literally being kidnapped by a group of sober young people. We would stay up all night. We would go out dancing. We would sing karaoke. We had the best time. And it just taught me that we absolutely insist on enjoying life, that this was not the end of my life. And I've continued to feel that way, even through having children and getting married and not being able to do those fun things all the time anymore. But this was not the end of my life, just the beginning.
I really relate to that, and coming from an entirely different place and when I came in, I was 40, but I'm an artist and I couldn't paint or do any artwork when I first got sober. And I was just like going, well, it's a sacrifice I have to make to stay sober. And I'm just going to have to do this, and it's just going to be this way from now on. And it was not true. I had somebody tell me, you've given your art to alcohol. But I had exactly that feeling. I'm going to sacrifice. I'm just going to do this one long gray day from now on the rest of time. And being sober is not a sacrifice, it turns out.
In my early sobriety, I went to a Saturday night meeting. After that, a good number of us would go to the coffee shop and we would shut it down.
Hmm.
And then a smaller number of us would go to someone's house and we'd still be drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes and playing card games like Skip Bo. And, my husband and I, we were used to staying up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday nights, and we weren't ready to go to bed at 9 o'clock when the meeting ended, so to speak. Thank God we've got alcoholics that are sober because they are still fun people.
Yeah. Laura, say a group of young people from treatment come into the meeting, they're visiting a meeting. What do you say? How do you approach them?
I have that experience all the time here in Albuquerque, and I attend a Saturday night young people's meeting that actually in the group conscience meetings, we've had to talk about how to not be overrun. I think at one time we had 9 different vans coming to the same group.
Mm.
So there's so much opportunity to connect with people that I know exactly where you are because I've been there. But I also don't want to impose and force myself, because I also understand that a lot of people end up in treatment against their will and maybe are just going through the motions and are at the meeting because they're being told to go.
Yeah.
So if I get called on to share in the meeting, talk about my experience and to talk about my experience in treatment. And that usually opens the door for these individuals to approach me after the meeting and either ask for my number or talk to me instead of me going and pushing my experience on them. That tends to work really well.
When I have sharing that, I've got some sobriety under my belt, and as Alice says, I love life's gonna life.
Yeah.
And so life shows up and it's got me. So here's what I'm doing. The first thing I'm doing, I'm sitting down here in this meeting.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk with my sponsor about this. Obviously, I'm praying about it. And those types of open, vulnerable shares are the invitations for people to connect with us. And then they do want to talk with us after the meeting.
I agree 100% with that. I have never attracted a sponsee by quoting the big book. But I have invited many, many, many people into my life by just being honest and vulnerable in AA meetings and relatable. And I think sometimes, especially when people find out how much sober time I have, they automatically turn off their brain to me. They're like, it's impossible. No, I can't relate to this person. But when I share about, yeah, I've been sober this long and life is still kicking my butt and I still need meetings and I still need sponsorship and I need sponsees more than anything so that I can hear the advice that I need to take through talking to you.
You've been sober a long time now. What is AA like for you today? How do you stay sober today, and what's your life like today? Just tell us all of that.
All the things.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 30 seconds.
Okay. Here we go. I have a really beautiful life today. I married a sober man that I met when I was 18. We've been together for 20 years. We've raised 4 children together. We've moved across the country twice. We met in New York City, lived in Houston, Texas. Now we're here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. If we keep making our way west, we'll end up in California and then hopefully
back to New York City.
Yeah, just keep going around the globe. So life is really, really beautiful and satisfying. And I think when I think about how I stay sober today, that gift of desperation that I had to never go back to being completely out of control and dependent on substances and alcohol, and to be a thief and to be a liar. I'm desperate never to go back to that. It has shifted from being sober quite a while. And now I feel like that desperation is okay, well, what can I give and what can I bring instead of what can I take and what can I get from this meeting? That is overall how I stay sober, because, not every meeting that I attend today is my favorite meeting on Alcoholics Anonymous. And there are times where I'm like, I don't know if I really heard any solution in this meeting today. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's okay, but what did you bring and what did you give?
Yes.
That's how I stay sober today.
How do you balance AA and 4 kids?
It's difficult. I have a lot of support, having, a supportive partner.
How do you weigh decisions when I need to go to a meeting and when I need to be available?
That's a really good question. I've definitely skipped my home group to attend a baseball game that I know is important to my son, or a gymnastics performance for my daughter. Mm-hmm. And even at Christmas time, My mom had asked me to, I'm a musician. She'd asked me to perform with her on a night that was my home group's like Christmas party and group conscience meeting. And in my guts, I was like, no, I don't want to miss that. And you're asking me to miss that. That's really important. But life is life, and the circumstances. My mom's ill right now. She's battling stage 4 cancer. And, I had to really like sit with that for a minute and meditate on what is important here. There will be other AA events, and there will be other group conscience meetings, and I can send in my reports by proxy, but this may be the last time I have to perform with my mother. And she's asking me to do that.
Yeah.
So what AA has taught me is to show up for life and not just like stay in my safe little bubble here in Alcoholics Anonymous either.
On the other hand, I get back all these things in life that pull me out of AA.
Yes.
So how do you decide when I need to go to AA?
I have also taken advantage of some outside help in recent years. Mm-hmm. And done a lot of work in therapy to kind of figure out where's the tipping point, right? And I avoided that for decades because I told myself that AA was enough and it should be enough. And I probably had a little bit of trauma based on how I got sober and feeling some mistrust around treatment and therapy and that sort of thing. But I yielded back because I found that the circumstances of my life were feeling so heavy and AA wasn't working for me the way that it usually had. I was doing all the right things. I was attending meetings. I was doing service work. I had sponsees. I was calling my sponsor every week. I was showing up early. I was staying late. I was fellowshipping. I was doing all these things. And I still felt at 20 some odd years sober, like I wanted to check out. I didn't feel like I wanted to drink, but I just didn't want to feel. And so those are the moments where I was like, okay, I need to recognize this feeling right here and know that that's not normal. If I'm doing all the right things and I'm showing up for my kids and there still feels like there's an imbalance, then I need more. And so I found that more in outside help and therapy. And that helped give me tools to recognize those moments where I'm like, ooh, things are heavy, things are hard. I'm going to go to a meeting tonight when I don't normally go tonight. And I also offer that same grace to my husband, who's also in the program. So when that comes, I listen to it. And I would be willing to skip a baseball game or skip a family dinner if I knew my life depended on it. And my kids do understand part of what makes me a good and solid parent to them is the fact that I take care of myself and I go to these meetings. They do understand that.
Thank you for mentioning therapy. I went through therapy several times before getting sober. And what do you know? Alcohol was in the way. And when I got sober, I found it to be so useful. And within our literature, we do talk about working with medical professionals.
That's right.
We're happy to cooperate with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Sam, it's time for hashtag heard in a meeting.
Don, it's time for hashtag misheard in a meeting, where we read some of the mondegreens sent to us by our listeners, things that they've heard that weren't quite right.
Like what I always hear, sought through prayer and medication. Wait a minute.
We've got something here that was sent to us from Tom L. in Chicago. Tom starts off, "Hi, Alice and Sam."
Hold it. Is that a monogreen right there? It's Alice, not Alice.
Well,
Alice
I don't know
and Sam.
that that's a mondegreen, but it's definitely not correct. But
It's probably misheard. That's okay, Tom.
It is okay, Tom, and thank you for writing in. Tom writes, "I have an example from a very young, very new member who was reading How It Works and said, 'Remember the deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, and powerful.'" The deal.
What's the deal here?
And also wrote, "Half treasures availed us nothing." Yes.
Well, now wait a minute. Half a treasure.
Well, it depends on if it's the valuable part.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got another one here. This is from Linda in Mesa, Arizona. "Their changes are less than average." That's for there are those who do not recover from alcoholism. Their chances are less than average from how it works.
Yeah, well, getting sober is all about change.
It is. And Linda writes, I love that I heard this because it reinforces the importance of honesty for that necessary, quote, personality change sufficient to bring about recovery. Linda goes on to write, referencing the promises in chapter 6 into action, quote, to handle sick relations which used to baffle us. To handle sick relations. I love this. She writes, I decided this is a 13th promise for me because before recovery, every relationship I had was sick with friends, family, romantic partners, my spirituality, with myself.
Oh.
I love that. So instead of situations, it's sick relations. That's great.
Well, that's exactly true. I did not know how to be in a healthy relationship. When I was drinking, I had sick relationships with people that I really shouldn't have been involved with. I discovered once I got sober, why am I hanging out with this person?
Yeah. Playmates and play places is a good change in so many situations.
Let me read the next one, Sam. Step 10 is continued to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Linda writes, I have 2 mishearings with 10th step. When we were wrong, probably admitted it. When we were wrong, promptly omitted it. I relate to both of these, especially before I got sober. But of course, even in sobriety or the actual 10th step wouldn't even be necessary.
And there's a cute little hand over the mouth with the smiling eyes emoji.
You know, the short form of the steps is I made a list of all persons I had harmed and asked God to remove them.
I think that's your version. Linda goes on to write, and with the 11th step, thought through prayer and meditation. This definitely happens on occasion. My timer will go off and I'll realize I spent the whole time just thinking about things I need or want to do. But I never consider it wasted time. I still maintained my spiritual commitment.
Yeah. That thinking through meditation is what meditation's all about. And what I've learned through it is I don't need to participate in my thinking.
Okay. I don't need to engage. Just because it's my brain has thrown it to me doesn't mean I need to catch it.
Just because
Gotcha.
I feel like I need to say this thing, maybe I don't need to say this thing.
That's true.
Or whatever. Laura, you mentioned earlier that you did meditation.
I have had to do meditation in small bites. You know, I have a funny memory of, trying to do it with a sponsee once. And in the middle of this 2-minute meditation where we were just being quiet and being still, one of my children walked in and asked me to change their diaper.
I'm trying to be a holy person here.
Small bites does me better.
I hear you. I like the small bites too.
I've tried short. My doctor told me one time when he was saying, Don, you need to start exercising on a regular basis. And I was going, well, okay, so like do a half an hour or an hour? And he said, 10 minutes on a regular basis. The amount you should do is the amount you will do.
That is good.
And the same thing applies to everything in my life, really. It's like I will set goals, but I'm not going to set a goal that I'm going to fail at. I set a goal that I will do.
I am sticking that into my digital back pocket. The amount you will do is the amount to do.
And I think it's important too that meditation doesn't have to look like sitting still in the lotus position for everybody, right? Like sometimes going for a walk is meditative. Listening to music can be absolutely meditative. So it doesn't have to be pigeonholed into one thing necessarily.
I used to go to a gun range and I remembered going through the process of shooting a gun at the range is meditative for me because I'm focused on this one thing and I don't have the distracting thoughts and it's like, wait, shooting a gun is meditative?
I'm having trouble with that one, Sam. I'm trying my best to make going to the gun range into a meditation.
I told you it's a weird one.
Laura, this is great. Thank you for joining us.
Indeed. It's been a real joy to chat and laugh with you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks to everyone who subscribes to the Grapevine magazine in print or in the AA Grapevine app. Your support makes this podcast possible.
I'm at the very wit's end. Cuckoo. This one was submitted by listener Jack A. in Suffield, Connecticut. Your blood work shows many elevated levels that are indicated in people who drink to excess.
Gosh, doctor, what should I do?
Have you ever gone to one of those groups where everyone is an alcoholic?
You mean like a family reunion? It's really not that funny. Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.